Pittsburgh Steelers fans, hey, what is goody? It is a great morning, my friends, because we're only 2 weeks away from the regular season and real Pittsburgh Steelers football. Yeah, I mean, they played football and the stakes were real for those guys playing, but you know what? The 34-9 loss, I think that's left a bad taste in a lot of people's mouths, but we're going to help you get through that too, because it's one of those therapeutic things that is the fun, lighter side of football, which is 2 a.m. and Tales from 2 a.m. Once again, my name is Bryan Anthony Davis. I'm the podcast producer for BehindTheSteelCurtain.com. My good friend, Kevin Tate from the Know-It-Alls podcast is coming in and joining us once again. Tate, what's good, my friend?
Hey, Bad. Hey, how are you, man? Thanks for having me. Yeah, that game the other night, that last preseason game did leave a bad taste in a lot of our mouths. Only good thing about that is 2 weeks from today, we'll get to redeem ourselves and try and get rid of this bad taste and get off to a good start for the 2021 season.
Yeah, you know what? This is one of those anchovy tastes, like you just can't get out of your mouth and you have to just like wash it down. But it is preseason and there's a lot of things to look at here too. And I'm going to go ahead and bring that up because, like I said, it's going to be therapeutic as we realize the significance of the loss and the significance of the play and the significance of the number of games. And we're going to talk about that in a second. First of all, I do this every show. I welcome the first couple in. Brian Brown says hashtag bad company. Great job there. Clarence Washington says hello. And John C. gives us another bad company too. So hashtag bad company. It's not as riveting. It's not as great as hashtag ride or die crew. But but bad company it's burning up the charts. So, and even though Jeff Hartman says that we're a copyright infringement from the band wasn't all caps. The bad in the band was not all caps, and I still have a problem with Bad Company. I always thought they were a good band. I went to their concert in 1991, and the bass player tried to steal my date. I think he successfully stole my date, but I don't really know for sure. So Tate, I'm going to steal their name. And I'm going to put a hashtag on it. And I think they're like 90. So it doesn't matter with Bad Company.
Hey, man, it fits you, man. So you deserve it.
There you go. So, hey, thanks for everybody coming in this morning. And yeah, how does everybody feel about the Pittsburgh Steelers after the last preseason game against the Carolina Panthers? You got to remember that the starters were not in there. We've seen Najee all preseason long, and we have also had the ability to see Ben Roethlisberger in Game 3. We saw a little bit of Chase Claypool, and now we have seen Dwayne Haskins against ones, but without ones next to him. Yeah, sure, he had Chase a little bit, didn't have his offensive line. So a lot of people are down on Dwayne Haskins right now, and because it wasn't the best performance. But Tate, can we really analyze his worth by one preseason game when the stakes weren't even?
I don't think so. I mean, it was certainly a disappointing outing to me as far as Dwayne Haskins' performance. The offense didn't move, but like you said, They didn't have the total complement of first teamers out there. You had Chase out there for a little bit, some James Washington. No Najee, no Trey Turner, no Zach Banner, no Freiermuth, no Ebron. So, it's really not necessarily an apples to apples analysis when you're breaking it down in comparison to the Carolina Panthers that have most of their first team defense out there. I still would like to see him perform a little better. He had some drops. Ray dropped one, stepped out of bounds on the other, where you have to make that catch. I mean, so I don't think it's a fair analysis, and I understand why Masons will be the number 2 going through this year. I think this year will be a good learning experience for Haskins behind Ben with Coach Sullivan, QB Coach Sullivan, coordinator Matt Canada, and then next year I think we'll have a camp battle for if Ben retires, if Ben steps down, for that first team quarterback between Mason and Haskins. I don't think the Steelers will be picking at a point where they should use first round draft capital on a reach at a quarterback this year. If they can find somebody in free agency or find a project they can add to the mix, all this is contingent upon Ben retiring, then, we go ahead that way. But I don't anticipate us having a top 15 or 20. I mean, I expect us to pick 15 after 15 all the way up until the end of the draft. So I don't think one of the top quarterbacks will be available at that point.
Yeah, that's very true. And Snowman says this, and Snowman is one of the originals, the great fans of the show. One bad game doesn't mean we give up on Dwayne Haskins, and that's the truth. But you know what I'm saying here is, I was really, a lot of people, especially in the live chat and in the Slack channel here at BTSC, they were giving me a lot of heck because I was absolutely convinced that we were going to see a trade of Mason Rudolph. I really thought we were going to see that with a great Dwayne Haskins performance because how he performed. And now a lot of people are saying, you cannot trade Mason away. And that's the thing. But does one bad game mean that Mason Rudolph is no longer expendable? I
kind of prescribed to your theory on that when you were saying it. You've been saying it for like a week and a half that they were playing Mason with the first team in every preseason game to try and boost potential trade value. And I thought that was a good take on your behalf with that. I think with Haskins kind of not performing as good as probably even the Steelers brass wanted, that I think we'll probably go into the season and stick with Mason as number 2 and just go from there. I'm guessing maybe Josh Dobbs will make the injured reserve practice squad, and we'll see how things shake out.
You know what? This is really interesting too, because I really think Josh Dobbs is a perfect number 3 for the Steelers for a lot of reasons, especially because of his relationship with Ben Roethlisberger. So that's another reason I was making this claim. I'm not sure if they make that deal now, but I would love it just to say, here, look, I had the finger on the pulse of it. Because I still go back. I don't have that many victories, Tate, but I had a victory last year when I said, the Steelers need to go out and get a guy like Stefan Wisniewski. I said they need to go ahead and do that. Did it work out? No. I mean, he got injured, and then now he just retired this week, and we wish him the best in his career. But everybody said to me, they don't have the money for a guy like Stefan Wisniewski. They're not bringing him in. Now it's ridiculous. What are you smoking? All of that. And so next thing you know, 2 weeks later, even like Dave and Jeff not as much, but Dave was giving me a little heck on that too. And then he turned around and said, all right, Bad was right. And I don't get that very often. I don't really get the Bad was right very often. So I loved it. Every once in a while, a blind squirrel finds a nut, and I was a blind squirrel on that day. So yeah, it's going to be very interesting in the next few days. I think the Steelers are going to be making some kind of moves. And I've a lot of people, and we just saw it on the live chat, somebody said, hey, we need to bring a corner in. To me, that's a hard thing to do, Tate, because this late in the game, learning a system, and we saw it with Avery Williamson last year. We saw it 4 years ago with Vance McDonald. It takes a long time.
Yeah. No, I certainly agree. And far as your takes go, I mean, like you said, you might not get them all right, but you're a bit risque with your takes. So you go way out there and you give us something to really ponder. I mean, you could be like your buddy Dave Schofield and just go by all the numbers. That's how Dave probably gets a lot of his stuff right, because he's an analytics guy. So he kind of goes by the numbers and listens to that. As far as bringing in the quarterback, it's a position of need if you can find one. But like you said, systematically, that's a tough learn. You know what I mean? The Steelers defense is even more complex than most NFL defenses. I could definitely see a corner or a left tackle just to add to the depth of the room. And if it's an experienced veteran, maybe somebody that can take over for Chooks and be there to kind of mentor Dan Moore. So one of those two positions, if they're going to make a move, I think it'll be in one of those two places.
Now, you brought up Dave Schofield, and Dave Schofield is, of course, analytics. He is absolutely one of the best, and I have great respect for him. And he's been talking about a guy on the offensive line that everybody's talking about as garbage. And I agree with Dave on this. I don't think Joe Haeg is garbage. I think he's a guy that if you look at the analytics and you look at the numbers, he has had a very good preseason. And I guess the eye test with everybody else, everybody is pigeonholing him as just not a good signing, not a good player, but I think he's played rather well, and the numbers are backing it up. And there's going to be some people disappointed when he does make the club in the 53-man roster. What are your thoughts on guys like that? I
think Joe Haeg has had a good camp. I think the perception of Joe Haeg is that he's not young like the other guys in the offensive line. I don't think he has a reputation for physicality. What he is a seasoned veteran though, and I wouldn't have a problem with him being a backup tackle. I don't know if the swing tackle. I think whoever's not the starter between Dan Moore and Chooks is a swing tackle, but Joe Haeg could be that next tackle to be on the roster. I wouldn't have a problem with that.
Okay, you just mentioned that battle a couple of times. Now, how do you really think that's going to shake out? They usually go with the veteran at that point, and I think it is going to be Chooks Okorafor. But do you think there's a possibility?
I think it's going to be Chooks too. Also, I think we'll know a lot more 2 or 3 weeks into the season. The second game, we played the Las Vegas Raiders. The third game, we're in Cincinnati. And if Chooks hasn't solidified himself yet, and he's putting up bad tape still and stuff, I mean, I don't see any reason after seeing what Kevin Dotson did last year in the games that he played, I don't see any reason why not to make the move early in the season, go to Dan Moore, let him take his lumps. He'll take some lumps because he's a rookie coming into that position. But the number one priority is to protect Ben. If he knows that and takes his lumps everywhere else while we're grooming him, I think by the end of the season that'll be the best move for the team. Then they'll have another starter that they know that can pencil in going forward next year, or let Chooks go in free agency this year.
You know what? It's really funny because I have when it was Banner against Chooks, I was the guy that would say that it's got to be Banner.
No, I like Zach too. I like Zach on the right side. I think Chooks fits the profile because he played in college. He's more athletic, he's better in space, moves his feet better. I think he fits the profile for a great left tackle. I just don't know that he has the tenacity that Adrian Clem wants out of that unit. You know, I mean, physically, as far as the profile goes, he checks all the boxes. In just mentality, I think that's where his shortcoming is at.
And you know what's funny though is throughout the time here, he has had very bad preseasons. He has not shown up well in preseason, but in the regular season, he's shown up a whole lot better, and that's something you don't normally see. So that's really interesting. And you know, I had some difficulties with my internet just there, so I do apologize for that. I want to go ahead and bring up Felicia here. Hashtag bad influence. I like that too. I love it from Felicia. And good morning, my favorite Breakfast Club fam, Snowman, Shipley, Clarence, Sean, Kathy, Vaping All Day, John C., Ryan O'Toole, Mark, and Owen. Yeah, we are a family here, and that's really cool. And that's one of the things we're going to talk about: food, family, and fun. And Steelers football. And we're going to be talking about that, with this being the second to last Tales from 2 a.m. before the regular season. And when the regular season starts, we're going to have some more important Sunday shows. And that Sunday show that's going to be really important is going to be a Steeler post-game show that we're going to have in the evening after games. So I'm really looking forward to that. So let me ask you this, Tate. We had 9 Steelers getting their red tags yesterday.
Yeah.
And those guys with their red tags, well, they still have a possibility to stick around on the practice squad. We have an opportunity to see those guys, and but is it a bad sign to be one of the first ones to go when they're staggering it out now? Because that means that, hey, does that mean that we're not trying to keep you? That we're giving you a chance to explore other opportunities?
I personally think it's of benefit to the players. I mean, because it kind of gives them the knowledge to know that they're not going to be in Pittsburgh. Why wait till Tuesday at 4:00 if you know these guys aren't guys you're going to keep, that aren't even in the competition anymore to be on the 53-man or the practice squad. So they kind of get turned loose. I was surprised with Shakur Brown being released just because he was such a highly regarded undrafted pick. He had a draft grade on him in this past NFL draft, but he had a terrible camp. I mean, so maybe he gets one of the 9 that gets released, and another team can make a move. It can latch on to him, or maybe Anthony Johnson or Marcus Ball, any of the guys that got released. It just gives them opportunity to go out there and seek work elsewhere. So I think it's really. It's really good of the team to be fair to those players, I think.
Yeah, but my question is, does that mean that they're probably not being considered for the practice squad here?
The ones I'm looking at, the list: Marcus Ball, Tony Brooks, James, Matthews. I think of that group, I think maybe Matthew, Sexton, and Shakur Brown could be brought back if they're still available for the practice squad, but those rooms where they probably felt were deeper, they want to make moves in the DB room to where they didn't want to use one of those guys as one counting against the numbers. So it's a numbers game right now.
Okay, Tate, you know how I always talk about that it's 2 a.m. somewhere? Well, it's actually almost 12 a.m. somewhere, and that somewhere is in Australia. And we're going to bring in one of our very own, Marky D. In fact, why is he going all the way to the top? I mean,
I don't know.
I don't know that. So from Steelers Touchdown Under, we're bringing in Mark Davison as well. Tate.
Mark, what's up, man?
Hey, Tate, how's it going, mate?
Pretty good, man. Good to meet you.
Yeah, I just wanted to come in and wear me beanie for Beanie Sundays. I just wanted to be part of the crew.
Beanie Sunday.
Yeah.
This has been my Tales from 2 a.m. This has been my new tradition that I started because I had a buddy that he's like a big brother to me, and he called me up a couple weeks ago and said, "What's the deal with the beanie? You look ridiculous." I'm like, "Well, that's my Sunday morning thing." Plus,
but it's warm though. How warm is it, Brian? Why is it so warm? I sleep in this thing. I put it over my eyes and have Steelers Super Bowl dreams. I'm ready.
Well, it's winter for you, isn't it?
It's going into autumn, so it's a bit cold today. So
oh, really? So you guys don't have reverse seasons?
Yeah, well, it's like we have winter, then I guess autumn or whatever. Or no, I don't even know what we're doing. Well, winter, then coming into summer or spring, and then in the summer. It's a bit cold. It's about 20 degrees or something. Sorry if I'm talking a bit quieter. I don't want to wake the neighbors up. It's it's 12. It's 12 midnight. It's crazy.
I'm sure you've woken the neighbors from time to time with all those shenanigans and hooliganism, especially during Steeler games that start at 3 a.m.
Yeah, it's true. You can't really hold the excitement back.
So, Mark, one of the reasons I wanted to bring you on is one of our titles is, and we're going to get to this later, it's food, family, and Steelers football. And you kind of you guys talked about food yesterday on Steelers Touchdown Under, a really bizarre food too. So, but we'll be talking about that in a little bit. But we're talking about the 9 fellas that have been released from the Steelers already. And we're going to talk about what we're going to talk about is coming up. Who are going to be surprises? Because we still need to see the Steelers get down to a 53-man roster, and they are currently at 71. So we're going to see 18 more Steelers released, with 16 having an opportunity to come back on the practice squad because of the COVID rules that they put into effect last year. So we're going to talk about food. We're going to talk about the roster. We're going to talk about fun things, family, and things to expect right when we come back on Tales from 2 a.m. from BehindTheSteelCurtain.com. Go ahead, take a break. The break's going to be a few seconds. If you are on any of the podcast streaming platforms where you download your favorite shows, do us a favor. Come on back and just download number 2. It's as simple as that. And a message to Snowman, #pay Kyle. No, we're not paying Kyle today. So with that being said, we will be right back after this on Tales from 2 a.m. Welcome back to Tales from 2 a.m. My name is Bryan Anthony Davis. His name is Kevin Tate. We call him Tate. He's from the Know-It-Alls podcast. And we have another special guest, Marky D, who is getting ready to go to bed, but he's getting ready to have his Steeler beanie to sleep with, to give him, as he would say, Steeler dreams, which is absolutely fantastic. I love it. I don't know if I want to hear about those Steeler dreams, as long as they're not Steeler nightmares. And Marky D, the Steelers don't have cheerleaders anymore, so they haven't had them since 1969. No, yeah. So
that's the problem. That'd be can't go too far into that one there, but it's just more about winning the game, or if I'm coaching the game in my dreams. But yeah, it's just I don't know. I try the best I can, but then sometimes I get into an awkward situation where I'm at work again or something like that. So,
Tate, do you ever have Steeler dreams? Because I used to have them where I was actually playing.
I know the Steeler dreams I had been more or less nightmares. The Neil O'Donnell Super Bowl. I still wake up in cold sweats about that one. Because when you think about it, that one, the Mendenhall fumble, we're that close to being undefeated in Super Bowls. Neil O'Donnell's performance, Rashard Mendenhall's fumble, even though they were down at the time, they were driving for the go-ahead score. So I have nightmares about those couple that we lost that we probably should have won. You throw in some Patriot games in there. The Jesse James catch that wasn't a catch, because I more or less have dreams or nightmares about the what could have been.
There you go. Mike and Mary Hoggard, Neil O'Donnell get paid somehow for that game. You'll never change my mind. We could probably go for hours on that, Mike and Mary. I still don't believe in that, but a lot of people do, so I will respect that take, especially when you put it in all caps. Gosh, when you go all caps, it's hard not to be emphatic about it. So
hey, Bad, my buddy Mod of the Know-It-All podcast,
yes,
he's a Cowboy fan.
Oh, he's huge.
He sends Neil O'Donnell a Christmas card every year to still thank him for that Super Bowl win they got.
He really does?
He really does. Well, he said he does. He probably doesn't know Neil O'Donnell's address, but it's just funny that as a hardcore Dallas Cowboy fan that he's that thankful to Neil O'Donnell.
That's I still contend Ernie Mills doesn't get hurt in that game. It's a completely different game. There you go. He blew out his ACL, and then Ernie Mills ended up being a Cowboy, which is really strange after that. But we could talk about that game all day, but hey, that's going to bring us down. Let's talk about fun stuff and getting back out there. I just want to ask Marky D real quick as we go on. Steelers had a down game in the preseason the other day. Does that affect any of your enthusiasm going into the regular season?
It's kind of funny because we talked about it, Matty, today. Like, I think this is the first time in my history being a Steelers fan that I wanted to really watch the preseason games and to really have an understanding what these players were doing. The biggest thing I can take away from this game and what I've noticed in the Steelers in the last few years is their heart and their to be competitive in the game. And when you don't see that happen even in a preseason game, you kind of think, why do you even run onto the field? So I know it's a harsh take. Like, I know they're versing ones versus fours, but for me, it's like you've just got to, you've got to want to play the game to give it your all, no matter what the circumstance is. So we didn't see that yesterday, or was it yesterday or 2 days before? We didn't see that a few days ago at all. So
it was yesterday in our world here, but you're in Australia, so you're a world away. Let me go ahead and do this. We're going to wrap up talking about the roster, and I'm going to throw some names. We'll go rapid fire in this, with maybe just a sentence after each one. I'm going to throw out some names, and we'll go with both of you and get your takes on this. Yes or no on the roster, and you can even say practice squad if you want. But actually, let's go ahead and throw out the first name. Derek Watt. Tate, we'll start with you.
He makes it, not necessarily because of his play, but because he's TJ's brother.
You're subscribing to that. Marky D.
He makes it, but I'm not too sure how. Let's put it that way. Yeah.
Rashad Coward. Tate.
I think he's good O-line depth, practice squad.
Okay. Mark?
That's my weakest position, but I think it all depends on depth. So I don't know with Coward.
All right. We're going to go a little different on this next one. I'm going to say Kendrick Green. Is he a starter? Is he a reserve? Tate.
Starter.
Marky D.
Yeah, I think he has to start because who's going to be the other center? Unless you start another center and you don't want to allow Green to start and then all the magic goes away. So if you know that he's going to be really great for the whole season or have some sort of impact, then maybe start someone in front of him like a veteran. Then you can't use an excuse to the way where Green goes in there and then does nothing. So
I think even with that, I mean, I think Hassenhauser, this is his third year, I believe. So he's still a young guy. And I think they like BJ Finney as the number one backup guard. So I think Kendrick Green, I mean, you kind of just got to, even if he takes his lumps, he has to take them. I mean, it'll pay dividends at the end of the season if we go ahead and put him in now and let that offensive line unit kind of coalesce and gel together.
All right. So my next one was a combo. It was going to be JC Hassenauer and BJ Finney. And so it sounds like you guys think that they're both going to make the roster. Is that correct?
I do.
Okay. Mark?
Yeah, if it's just for depth, like I said before, if you start Green, the worst thing I want to see happen is Green starting and then all the Steeler fans, or he plays really bad, then he gets shot put out of there, and then the other guy comes in. Whereas sometimes in what you can do with certain teams is put the guy who you want to start, and then Green could be the savior. If that makes any sense, they might do that. But if Green's a talent, put Green in there for sure. If I just want to see some good depth. So because this is the longest season I think we've ever had, from preseason to regular season.
Yeah, and I think BJ is the swing guard, backup guard, and JC is the backup center.
Interesting. So let's stay on the offensive line with Joe Haig. Tate?
I think he makes it. I think he makes the 53. I think he's the next best tackle as far as preseason performance behind Dan Moore, and they're going to keep Chuk. So I think Haig is that next tackle behind either Chooks or Dan Moore.
Marky?
I'm copying Tate's answer. I agree with Tate because you're picking on me with all these O-line guys.
Okay, so we'll do something a little bit better. Let's talk about tight ends. Let's start off with Ebron and Freiermuth. Who's the starter? And Mark, we'll start with you. We'll start with you.
yeah, you have to go with Ebron here, and then to see what Frymouth can back up behind him. Similar kind of thing. You know what you have with Ebron. You don't want to put too much pressure on Frymouth to be number 2. If you want Frymouth to be number 2, then he's going to could be a great number 2 heading into 1. So you go with Ebron, Frymouth, and then maybe Gentry if he's going to be a 3rd.
Oh, you're going ahead because I was all right. So we already know your answer on Gentry. So Tate,
the tight end room, I think it's not necessarily a 1 and a 2. I think it's 1A and 1B.
I agree,
and I think those guys will have matchups on different weeks where each of them can exploit the defense. I think Pat, down the middle in the red zone. And I think Ebron more on tight end out routes or tight end posts and things like that. But I think they both are weapons.
So let's stay with those tight ends, and we're looking at Gentry, and we're looking at Raider. So Tate,
that's one of the toughest battles. They have draft capital in Gentry, obviously a 5th round pick 2 years ago. But Raider is one of those undrafted free agents that's just been grinding and working, and he's such a great blocker. And with the way how we're trying to transition into a more, at least a balance, if not more, run-oriented offense, I think Raider offers more, and I think you can stash Gentry on the practice squad and get away with it for one more year.
Mark, you're already keeping Gentry, right?
I've got my guy Gentry. I think I've ragged him out a few times, but I just think his sheer size in that team has something to say to this team. He's about 7 foot tall. You've got to use him in certain ways in the end zone as well. But Tate's right. I do like the play with Kevin Raider and how he blocks. So if you're going to use Najee in the backfield and you have Frymouth and Raider in there too, I like how they can push that pocket forward. So, and I think with Gentry now, is he heading into his 3rd year? Is it 3rd year?
Yes.
This is a perfect year for him. So, me and Matty talked about today if you're going into any job for 2nd year, 3rd year, you should already know what you're doing. This is the time where you really need to excel. So I'd say if they keep Raider, it would be a shock to me, but you obviously need him for the run game there.
And I was hoping that they kept Radar O'Reilly from MASH because I believe he would be a great player. Let's look at the wide receivers, and let's say wide receivers / special teams here. Let's go with Matthew Sexton versus Ray McLeod. Tate?
Like I told you, man, full transparency, Ray McLeod is my brother-in-law's nephew in Florida. So I'm rooting for Ray. He's kind of like next to family. Matthew Sexton's had a great camp. He didn't do himself any favors the other night with those muffs. And the one fumble cost a touchdown. I like Ray to be the number 5 receiver. I like Matt Sexton to make the practice squad, even though he got cut early.
Yes, and he was a part of that 9, and I realized that, but I brought that in just because there's some things that they move around. We've seen guys get cut and brought back into the 53, so that was a guy that I was thinking of, and that's the reason I brought him up that way. So, do you believe, Mark? Let's go ahead and put it this way. This is a 2-part question.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think that Ray is safe as the fifth receiver? That's part 1. And part 2, do you think that Tate has to work hard to get Ray on the BTSC family of podcasts?
The second part, yes. Let's get Ray on here. You know what, though? The first part, no player should feel safe. I think the biggest battle this camp has seen has Ray versus Sexton. And the funny thing about that is, did Ray win that because Sexton got cut? However, Ray didn't play lights out, or I don't think he grabbed the position today. It looks from a standpoint that he has it because Sexton isn't there anymore. Doesn't mean another receiver can't come in, or Bussy can be back there, or Deontay Johnson could be fielding punts there too. So it doesn't mean if they cut Ray too, we could be shocked again. But just because Sexton is gone, it doesn't mean it's his spot.
Hey, Bad. I think with Ray, what you get, Sexton could be a better returner. I think Ray is like a chess piece in Matt Canada's offense because of the ability in the jet sweep game and the short pass, the bubble screen, and that kind of game. I think Ray is probably better suited for that than Sexton or Bussy. Bussy is compelling though, because he didn't play the other night. So I'm wondering if that means that they're keeping him. I don't know. I didn't see him the other night. Do you guys know anything about that?
I do not, but that is when he does not get a showcase and he was not one of the first 9 cut, you would think that there's a possibility that they are looking at him for the practice squad. However, remember the game they played last year, and there were no preseason games, but they played that game with James Pierre. They made sure that he was not on the practice squad because they knew they would lose him, right? Because of what they saw in camp, and other teams know what's going on in camp. So that might be you might see something there. There might be some chess play with Rico Bussy. Plus, it is an awesome name too. I really like Anthony Johnson. I think he's been around a while. I would love to see him back as a practice squad player as well. I really think that he has done some nice things in preseason, so I just wanted to bring him up as well. Let's go ahead and go to the defensive line, and I'm going to kind of switch it up real quick with the defensive line. Will there be a trade with a backup defensive lineman going to another club? Tate, we'll start with you.
That's a tough one to forecast. The defensive line room is loaded. I agree, and we're probably one man too many as far as the 53, as far as keepable guys that you could keep and see project ahead to be really good defenders. But I don't think I can forecast a trade of a defensive lineman because I wouldn't know which way to go.
Let's see. So let's throw some names out here. And I tell you what, I'll throw 3 names out here, and you can go ahead and say who sticks.
Henry, keep 2 of 3.
Yeah, let's say keep 2 of 3. Okay. Carlos Davis, Henry Mondo, Isaiah Buggs.
If you're asking me, I think both Carlos Davis and Buggs bring the most upside as rotational guys on the line. Mondo has that Steeler character, that Steeler fabric. He's a hard worker, great special teams player. I just don't see as much upside. And if you're keeping guys on the roster behind starters, you kind of want to try and keep the guys with the most upside. So I would probably slip Mondo to the practice squad if we could keep him there, and keep Davis and Buggs on the roster. That's my take.
All right, Mark D.
That's a hard question, Bad.
It is.
You know what you're doing, don't you, with those kind of questions?
Yeah, and I know I don't have to answer them. So
they're all very similar players, aren't they? My first thought was keep Mondo, and then it was battle between Carlos Davis and Buggs, and I thought keep Davis over Buggs. Honestly, I don't know.
But Buggs played really well the other night. He's one of him and Loudermilk were 2 guys that played the best the other night.
Yeah, that's a hard question.
It is hard.
And you notice I did not say Loudermilk for a reason, because I don't think he's going anywhere.
Yeah, I don't think he is either. I mean, they got too much capital invested in him. They drafted him, and they traded the next year's draft pick to get him. So
fourth rounder.
I think he's safe.
Now let's one more guy on the defensive line, but I'm gonna phrase this as a different question. Is Chris Wormley the next Tyson Alualu as far as so much value as a defensive lineman? Mark, I'll start with you.
I'm going to say no. I think Alualu is a key part of this defense, and I think when he came back and we all thought he was going like Gonski, see you later, mate. I don't see him just as an impactful player like Alualu. So I would say probably no at this moment.
Wow.
And he was a former Raven. I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Raven?
So was James Harrison.
Yeah, James Harrison was a former Raven too. And a member of the Rhine Fire for the Ravens. He was in Europe with a Raven logo on his chest.
Don't tell me that. He's my favorite.
Okay, well, it's okay. I mean, it's happened. Tate.
Same question.
Yeah, Wormley.
I think I'll take a different take than Mark D. I think I'd say yes, because when you think about it, Tyson Alualu was a first-round draft pick, high pedigree. He didn't really come into his own till he got to the Steelers. I don't want to say he was a bust in Jacksonville, but he's been significantly better as a Steeler than he was as a Jaguar. So I think Chris Wormley, I believe it's a third-round draft pick, if my memory serves me correctly, out of Michigan.
Yes.
So he's kind of a high draft pedigree guy, and he's just now starting to come into his own. I think he's learning from Cam, learning from Tuitt, learning from Tyson. He's learning that Steelers mentality and that culture. And I think going forward, he'll be better than he's ever has been.
I really like Chris Wormley this year, and I'm going to say yes. I think he is going to be very valuable the way that Alualu has been the last couple of years. We do have a super chat from Snowman. We got a hashtag bad company, so I love it. Could the Steelers cut Ray and go to the free agent route? I really don't think. I think if Ray is not on the team, I think they can find a 7th round pick out of Ray McLeod. I think if anything that they would trade him, but I think I want to go back to what Tate said earlier as a chess piece in Matt Canada's offense. I really think that he is a guy that they are relying on. So I don't think he's going anywhere. Gentlemen, thoughts? Tate?
I mean, I'd agree with you. I mean, just to be that extra chess piece. And then if they wouldn't cut him, like you said, I think they could get some draft capital back, even if it is a 7th rounder, even a 6th rounder. I think they could get that from another team that needs a return guy, needs a 4th receiver, needs that kind of extra playmaker on the field.
Yeah, I think he did. Oh, sorry, Brian. I think he showed us that he can catch as well in the preseason games. I just in my comments before, I just didn't think his job was that safe, but he needed to prove it to us a little bit. And he showed us in the last drive, he caught that touchdown. So, and I know we all want to yell Ray to the end zone like so bad.
Ray!
You want to root for that guy, but it's the same kind of class me and Matty talked about today. Like he's the 5th guy there, and we have 4 other guys in front of him, plus the tight ends and Najee. So at that same time, he's just going to be more of an excitable person on the offense. He can do more of the swing routes and the things that Canada can do, which would be fun to watch. But if he were to be traded and get someone else in, or someone else takes his position, it's not going to really affect our offense. But you got to root for the guy too, because if you want to see him crack one on a punt, we all need that. We want to see that in our lives now.
All right, so we just have some breaking news here, and it's still speculation, but this is coming in from Adam Schefter. And Jamison Hensley also put something in on here too. And I'm going to read Jamison Hensley's tweet. Actually, no, I'm not going to read his tweet. It's going to be Schefter, and it's about J.K. Dobbins. He is having an MRI today after going down on a screen pass yesterday in the Ravens preseason game. The expectation is that he may have suffered a season-ending injury, and that's bad news for me because I learned this very early on in my fandom from my dad, from my uncle. Like you root for another team to be full strength, and you don't root for injuries on the other team. So I do hate to see that. As far as J.K. Dobbins going down, a absolute great talent that kind of makes that really hurts the Ravens' chances. It doesn't kill their chances, but they had they had a guy yesterday in his stead score 5 touchdowns in a preseason game, which is absolutely incredible to me. And I could not believe it. I don't know. Maybe it was late when I read it, but did they have a guy truly score 5 touchdowns? And I think they did. You know about that?
Yeah, I'm not sure either.
Yeah, I saw the Ravens put on about 55,000 points because they never stopped. But, they can win in the preseason, and the coach is relentless. He'll play 5 quarters if he has to. That's hard for Dobbins. Very hard.
It is hard. I mean, I guess we talked pre-show bad, and I said I'm a Dobbins fan, become an Ohio State fan, but I'm not. I root for him as an individual running back, but not so much as a Raven. I'd say if you don't have already, Gus Edwards' value in fantasy just went way up. And do you guys know? I read something, heard something. The Ravens have won 20 consecutive preseason games.
Yes, it is a record. And,
wow.
That's a weird record for me, because that's one of those things to me that, I mean, it's an accomplishment, but it's still preseason. When we went into the Steelers-Panthers game saying that we don't care who wins this game, we care about the quality of play that we see. And it almost makes me feel like Harbaugh is trying to set that kind of record, and that's not the record that you need to set. I might be completely wrong here, but that's like having the nicest socks, I just don't think that means anything to me.
It's just
it means nothing, and I'm laughing because I know you guys. What do you guys call them? Wang Harbs. What do you call them?
Wang Harbs. Yeah.
Wang Harbs.
Yeah.
Yeah. He is that kind of guy. It's really. I mean, that's that's great, but in the end, that gives you nothing.
Let me ask you a quick question off topic real quick. But who's worse between Jim and John?
Oh, it's actually I read this story. I'm going to take some flack for this. I read this story years ago that they talk about their mom being the most competitive, and they get their competitiveness from their mom. So maybe it's mom. Maybe mom's just a pain in the butt. I don't know. And I hate to say that because you know how I love moms. But really, it's John for me, because I have more of a stake in it, and I've seen him go for 2 in winning by 30 some in a North Division game. He did it on September 11th of 2011 against the Steelers on opening day. The Ravens were just creaming the Steelers, and he was going for 2 up by 30 some points. And I've seen him do that. I've seen him run fakes on extra points against the Browns and the Bengals just to run it up. And he's that kind of guy. So I think that's one of the reasons he became Wang Harbs. By the way, Tyler Huntley had 4 rushing touchdowns yesterday for the I'm wrong.
He's the backup quarterback, right?
He's a QB, yeah.
4 receiving touchdowns and 1 rushing.
Wow.
So he accounted for he threw because McSorley's hurt, so he threw for 4, and so that's where I made that mistake. So that's really interesting too as well. But with McSorley back, you'll if he does come back, that they have a pretty good room there, pretty good quarterback room, especially for that system. Dave Shipley gives us $5. No Watt and no Tuitt week 1. Wormley will prove his value, and the biggest is Jones or Roche making it. And we were going to talk about that. So let's jump into that next. And thanks for the $5, Dave Shipley, big friend of the show. Jameer Jones, he's not going to wear number 44 if he sticks, because Watt will be wearing 44. He's going to get that the possession arrow on the jersey. What do you think? I'm going to vote because I think Jameer Jones, there's no way that you can get rid of this guy because he's doing it early in games too. It's not just he's not doing it in garbage time. He's doing it early in preseason games. I like Roche, but what are you guys with me on this? I'm saying Jameer Jones. Tate.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Mark D.
Well, I'm just going to say, I reckon the number that Jameer Jones is going to get would be number 49 because Marsh is terrible.
Okay, so that was my next one, Marsh. So you're saying no
49.
Royal King, the Pokemon King.
I'm done from today's game, yesterday's game, or tomorrow's game. I'm done. I'm done with him, man. Marsh is just not. I just don't see anything with him. So he's my scapegoat to really rag someone out, and let's get on the rag train. That's a bad. Don't say that word again. But look, hey, Marsh needs to be gone. I know there's a bit of a 12 a.m. slip up. That didn't mean anything.
We're okay. We're okay. Tate.
Yeah, I mean, I think Jameer Jones makes it. I like Roche. I'm wondering if they could get him on the practice squad. And agreeing with Mark, I think Cassius Marsh is out of here. Like no practice squad, obviously no 53. I think they go with Roche and Jones.
That's very interesting. And there's a possibility that they can go with 5 there. And that would mean they would keep less as far as your inside linebackers go. And let's talk about the inside linebackers. I'm going to throw some names out here and we'll go rapid fire. Let's go ahead with Robert Spillane.
I think Spillane's going to make it because he's experienced depth, not because he played his way onto the roster, only because he's experienced depth.
Mark?
I think if you have Spillane there surrounded by 10 other guys who are greats, then Spillane can be really good. But you surround him by, the same caliber, then he's just, just normal, I guess. So he's going to be there. He's depth for sure.
I agree with that. So let's go ahead and look at Ulysses Gilbert III.
Bye-bye.
Yeah, I'm not too sure with UG3. I don't know if I've seen enough with him, and I think Spillane would beat him out. And I'm not sure.
Well, they've invested 3 years in him, and the guy's either always hurt, he's never lived up to potential. And I mean, I think they just kind of washed their hands with that draft pick this year.
All right, so we're going to do this last one a little different. And I'm just going to ask one question. Who's the slot corner?
Myself right now, I'm going to go with Cam Sutton. I think they move him over into the inside, put James Pierre on the outside. I think the defense loses from a physicality standpoint, as far as in the blitz and downhill run game. Maybe they scheme something else up, but we get way better in coverage with Cam Sutton in the slot and with Joe Schobert out there, Devin Bush.
Mark?
Yeah, I kind of agree with that too, because I do like James Pierre, one-on-one with a cornerback, and I like the way he played this preseason and even a little bit last year. So Sutton's a bit more of a veteran guy, but if you can have Sutton play outstanding in that slot position, then you have a good James Pierre on the corner and Joe Hayden. They're obviously going to move guys around all the time, but they're coming out from the day one. I would say the same as Tate there. Those two.
I think it's schemed up bad. I think when they go big nickel, I think maybe they could even bring Edmonds down more into the box and switch Sutton out and put Sutton at safety because he's capable of playing safety also. So it's a chess game, moving pieces around the board depending on what Keith Butler wants to do.
Really interesting. And we've got one more, and I would be remiss if I did not ask Mark D about his countryman, Jordan Berry, against Big Presley Harvin III. But I'm going to let him think about it. I'm going to go with Tate first.
Jordan Berry's had a great camp, and I know how Jeff feels about Jordan Berry. So, and it's just time for a fresh face. And so I'm going to go with Press Harvin. I mean, they use draft capital on him. You don't use draft capital on a punter if you don't intend on keeping him. And he's had as equally as good a camp as Jordan Berry's had. If you think Jordan Berry's had a great camp, then Press Harvin's had a great camp also.
Mark D, is holding going to be a problem for the Steelers? And does Jordan Berry have an advantage because of his relationship as holding this long for Chris Boswell? We saw a bad hold. It could have been a bad snap. I don't know exactly what it was the other night for a missed extra point. Mark D.
Yeah, but not really. If Big Press can sink like 60-yard punts, it shouldn't be. That shouldn't really come too much into play of it. Look, I'm an Australian and Barry's an Australian, and we take pride in our sport. However, I still root for this team, and I think Barry's done. I think this is the last year for him. I think you've got to, like Tate said, you need a fresh face in there. And Barry's played 6 years in the league. I think it's about time that he hangs up the cleats and comes home or goes to another team. But you got to go with a young guy. I think he's 31, Barry, and the young Harvin is like 22, 23. So there's more potential in Harvin.
Bad. And can I just add real quick? I go piggyback on what Mark said. I think just like we talked about Ray, I think Press Harvin offers a little more in the special teams game for as fake punts, maybe, running a punt because he's a big guy. If you want to do a fake punt on short yardage, I think he just offers more from that perspective as well.
And I want to answer a critic here, Portna, good friend of the show. Bad thinks you could trade Barry. I'm serious. Yes. And I'm marking it down. If they keep Presley Harvin III, they are not cutting Barry. They will get a 7th round pick out of Jordan Berry. Mark it down. I'm saying it here. Boom.
I probably agree. You can get something late draft asset, but you can't get a draft asset, I believe.
Mark,
it's kind of true because it's funny with we always talk about punting this year because we want a bit of a change. But if you look at the stats with the Pittsburgh Steelers, Jordan Berry is second. He's second in most stats throughout the whole history. However, that's second of maybe people who are good punters and not great punters. So you can probably get something for him, but I think you have to go with Harp. You got the guy in the 7th round, you have to use him, and it's goodbye Barry. And then there's 31 other teams, 30 teams that never count the Bengals. Actually, you can ship him to the Bengals, but someone might pick him up, and Barry might have a job for another year or two.
I love this. Brian Brown says teams waiting a punter to get cut. Gonna jump like a hobo on a hamburger. Gosh, I mean, that's just me. I'm not a hobo, but I'll jump on a hamburger. All right. Speaking of hamburgers, let's talk about this. Mark and Matt yesterday at Touchdown Under talked about some weird food. Guys, when I think about Steelers football and how I got into being a Steelers fan, I remember food. I mean, I had an Italian grandmother. We'd go to her house. We would watch the Steelers. There'd be about 15 people, in that living room trying to watch the Steeler game. I was always on the floor right in front of the TV, and I couldn't get yelled at for hurting my eyes because I had nowhere else to go. Because if you sit too close to the TV, you're going to ruin your eyes. They would say that to me all the time. But I got right up close, and it was some of my best memories. But the food, I always think about spaghetti with meatballs and fried dough and with sauce with spare ribs when I think about the Pittsburgh Steelers, because that's what I grew up with. I don't do it as much now, but when I go back, when I talk about family and football and food, that's what it was for me. Do you have any food that you associate with the Steelers, Tate? And before I get started, Mark D, I love it that he said it. If he's going to watch his 5-star Steelers, he's going to have some 5-star food. So Tate, go ahead.
I agree. I go back. My first Steeler memory is the Super Bowl where they played the Rams. I believe that was the '79 season. As much then I didn't associate with food. As I got older, it became like an event. A Steeler game's an event, and it's just simple. But I do like to have my food. I like to have my wings and probably pizza is what I associate with Steelers football. Just because on NFL Sundays, that's usually I order some wings and order a pizza and have that there all day to snack on, and the Steelers, the game of focus. So On Sundays, it's Steeler football and football in general all day, but Steeler game has to be watched, and wings and pizza for me.
Marky.
Yeah, well, like I said in the podcast today, and Awesome Stuff brings it up. We had the new Australian pizza podcast. We talked about pizza for about 10 minutes. But it's totally true. I've always had this.
Yeah, I know.
Idea.
I cut all that out on the audio. I'm kidding. No,
honestly, that was one of our most funnest times in a long time talking about that. But I've had this theory for a long time. You just can't waste a good television show, a good movie, or a good football game without good food watching it, right? I don't want to watch the Steelers versus Ravens in the championship game, and I'm eating a peanut butter sandwich. I can't do that. It's got to be a pizza. A Subway, we have a thing here called a porter, like a chicken, like nice chicken burger. You need something to have that to watch the football. Otherwise, you're just wasting both. So if you're wasting both, if you're eating, your nice pizza but staring at a brick wall, what's the point? There's no point.
I like that. I can eat a good pizza staring at a brick wall. I will tell you that. I can eat a good pizza anywhere. Gosh, let me bring this one up real quick because everybody knows I'm from Johnstown. Paul must know I'm from Johnstown, Pennsylvania. Bad sundowner in the AM. Oh, so everybody has fried eggs on burgers now. All right. Mm-hmm. In the last 5 years, everybody's put an egg on a burger. We've been doing it in Johnstown forever. And we had a place called Coney Island. I think it's back now. But man, they were the greasiest, thinnest burgers, but they were glorious. And they would throw in the Coney Island chili, mustard, the strongest onions. My wife, my gosh, she was pregnant with Jillian, and I came in, I showered after having two sundowners, and she still kicked me out of the bedroom because I smelled so bad, the onions coming through my pores. Then you put the fried egg on top of it. It's called a sundowner. Oh, they're gorgeous. They're beautiful.
We call them, they're like an Aussie works burger. We have beef, and I thought the Aussies did that first, the egg and the beef together with I don't know if you guys have it like beetroot. Do you have beetroot?
I do not know what beetroot is.
Do you know what beetroot is, Tate? Oh, you guys call it radishes.
Okay.
Right?
All right.
Oh, yeah. Radishes. Yeah.
Is it purple?
Yeah.
Yeah, we call it beetroot. There's a slang for you. But we do burgers with the Aussie burger with like egg and stuff and bacon and pineapple too. Like the works burger. It's so good.
And interesting, but
pineapple on a burger.
Yeah, man, the works.
Okay. I've had it on a pizza, never a burger though. Okay.
Yeah, you know what? Beetroot sounds too much like Beirut. And I mean, I don't want to associate Beirut with my food. I will say this, something I learned in college, because we could always get a burger at college, and they had the salad bar with all kinds of things at Pitt Johnstown, and they had Doritos always on the salad bar. So I would put Doritos on my burger. So anytime I'm in a picnic and there's Doritos in a burger, I put Doritos on there. It adds a little crunchiness, and you get the cheese flavor. Oh, that's a really good way to go too. One thing that we do here is my wife puts together Steeler Central, and what we do is we have so many people from Western Pennsylvania here in Maryland come to the games. You don't have to be from there, but usually a Steeler fan. Now, are Ravens fans allowed to come? Yeah, they're allowed to come, but everybody knows the rule. Anybody's allowed in my living room. You just don't pee on the couch. So that's you have to be respectful. But Ravens fans, any fans are allowed in my house as long as you just don't go crazy. Because I once had to dump a girlfriend because she cheered an 80-yard Curtis Martin run against the Steelers in a playoff game just to get under the skin of my dad and myself, and that was the end of it. That relationship.
You dumped her?
A couple of weeks later, I just could not get it out of my head that she was dancing around and taunting us because it was that fog game. It was a playoff game against the Patriots, and she was cheering it on, and I was like, yeah, she's not worth it. She doesn't get it. So my wife now she doesn't watch the games, but she makes sure that they work on the menu, and we have a Super Bowl party caliber every single week for every day game. If it's a 1 o'clock or a 4:05 game, we have a huge spread, and we do it. We will even do taste offs. Everybody brings a New York style pizza, and we do it blind, and then we pick which one's the best. And we assign. Yeah,
I'm thinking about a Sunday day trip to Hagerstown now.
Oh yeah, you're in. Yeah, definitely, you would love it. Mark, you can make the trip too. I mean,
if I could, I would. I'd start swimming tomorrow. If you want me to.
Yeah, I'm only like an hour and 15, 20 minutes from bad, probably.
Yeah, look.
Yeah. He's probably an hour and 15 to the airport. Just
I am. I gotta say that, like, honestly, as an Australian, American food is one of the reasons why we go over there. You guys don't muck around. Like, you got some good quality, like from beef to lettuce. You got it all. It's some of the best food I've ever had. And it's not. You don't have to do all the in our cafes. We put like the rocket or the fancy, like, trying to be healthy stuff that. You guys just go all out and go, here you go, here's your grease, here's your chips, and here's your burger, and have at it. Like, that's all you need to do.
Who cares about clogging arteries, right?
Oh no, we don't care about that. I had that the Texans or the barbecue, like the real barbecue stuff. That stuff is unreal. I've never had that in my life.
Well, that's your next business venture, man. You need to. That's what you do need in Australia. Just go ahead and do like an American style, like combine all kinds of great American foods into one single thing, and but make it a specialty and make it a Steeler bar. There you go.
Yeah, it would be great to have one down here, a Steeler bar. We got to convince about 98% of the population though to watch the game. So we've only got really 2 or 3% who watch NFL down here. So
you and Matty P, that's the goal. I'll come down for the opening. Yeah, Matty's got the big bucks. He'll put it together. Does. All right, well, hey guys, that was a lot of fun, and I really appreciate it. We talked a lot about the roster, and that's the big thing. And it's always good to talk about family food, Steeler football, because for me it's all together. Football is all about family for me, and my new family is my BTSC family. You guys are my family. It's so great to have friends come over, and when we watch the games, like I said, it is like being there with family, like being way back in the late 70s, early 80s for me, and that's one of the things that drove my love for the Steelers, because it was that atmosphere. And the Steelers were what brought everybody together. And as days go by, and as years go by, we lose those. We lose a lot of that. But you could always emulate, and that's something that I always try to do. And when they're not blood family, it doesn't matter, because you could bring in people that treat you like family, and when you're rallying around the same things, and for us, it's the Steelers' big part of it. So it's so awesome. I can't wait. COVID took that away a little bit last year. We still had some of it, but we're going to get back into it full force this year, and that's what 2 weeks from now means to me. As much as I love watching the games, I love it even more when I'm not by myself, and when I'm cheering and fist bumping and even getting knocked out. I got knocked out during the when Troy Polamalu picked off that ball to go to the Super Bowl in the 2008 season. I got punched in the face by the scrum, and I got dropped, and I think I was knocked out for a second. I got back up, and I was like, woo! And I went upstairs, and I said, yeah, I just got punched in the face. I'm like, oh my gosh, what happened to your face? I'm like, I don't know. We were just cheering. We were. It was like the mound at the end of a World Series win. We were just all jumping up and down, and arms were flailing, and I didn't do anything to get dropped. But it felt so good. So I'll take that punch in the face again if we're going back to the Super Bowl. So with that being said, guys, thanks for being a part of this today. It's always great to have good memories. It's always great to look into the future too, and that's what we did. So Tate, thank you so much.
Hey, Bag, can I just if everybody invite everybody to know-it-alls?
Yes.
Today at 5:00, we're doing a comprehensive NFL breakdown of all the teams and all the divisions. So that's going on YouTube, know-it-alls at 5 p.m. today.
I tell you what, Maud, Big G, Tate, that's a good show. I had a chance to be on it 2 weeks ago. I loved it. That was a fun time for me. I hope to be on it again. And anytime you want to talk about rugby, Marky D will be on the show for you too. So
you got it.
He'll be glad to. Mark, get some sleep, man.
Yeah, it's 1 a.m. Thanks for having me on here. I wasn't prepared, and I just all I had to do is just find my pants, and I was on the air. So, but I'm always. Am I still wearing pants? I don't know. It's just
you can't confirm that. We don't know.
Confirm or deny. No one really knows. No, it's a pleasure. It's a pleasure being on here. It's a pleasure also meeting yourself, Tate. Like this is.
Thanks, brother. You too. You're my Steelers brother.
Yeah, like football family, and you preach it all the time, Bad. This is the reason why I wear the black and gold. The reason the most fun I have is wearing this stuff, and then people ask me questions saying, "Are you a Steelers fan?" And when I walk around, if it's at Switzerland, or New York City, or the airport, when I could travel, and I will travel in the future, I every time I travel, I wear the Steelers. I wear a Steelers shirt or anything to do with the Steelers because I want to see who was going to pull me up and say hello. And then I know them for about half an hour. But it's just the best thing we can do. People are people, and then you meet other like-minded people. So great. So that's my last words.
That's awesome. And Tate and Mark both have come from the live chat. Live chat, we love you. And hashtag Bad Company, whether you're hashtag Ride or Die Crew, you're hashtag BTSC, and you're so important to us. So we need you to do 3 things. Well, actually, we need you to do 4 things. Check out all of the other podcasts from BTSC and check out the editorial side, especially this week, man. It's going to be, there's going to be a lot going on with getting down to the 53-man roster. I think there's going to be a trade or two. There's going to be something happening. You're going to see breaking news podcast. I just know it. So just be ready for that. Definitely check all of that out. So the things that I need you to do, and Tony Defio's not here, so you guys are going to have to do it for me. 1, be safe. 2, be true to yourself. And 3, always be behind the steel curtain. We love you. Thank you so much. We will see you next week for the final episode of Tales from 2 a.m. We're going to have lots of fun. Tate, hope to see you there. Mark D, you're always welcome.
Thanks, man.
See you, Bad.
All right. We'll see you, friends.